I always say it's so funny because when I was in Ghana, I remember being dropped off in school in a Benz, and then when I came to America, it's like I literally wait by the bus at 5 a.m., take a bus at 5 a.m. just to get to school across the town, right? And it's a big culture shock. Now, when I went back to Ghana,
This is perfect. This break we just took, where you went straight to business. This is where I want to go in this second part of our
okay,
segment.
yeah,
You're a man again that is connected to back home. You've been trying to go. You've
hmm
always been this person that wants to be helpful.
yeah,
I want to touch on this. Full disclosure: people should know when you touched on knowing yourself and your personality, hence not wanting to be
hmm
confined and in a cubicle. For those of us that know you,
hmm
as soon as you said that, I'm like, my imagination of Nana in a cubicle is like, it's like the world is just being deprived of her. Like,
yeah,
just hidden in a corner, not
hmm
with people. So again, this is the full disclosure part. You emceed my wedding,
yep, yep.
and since 2008, almost even before that, every wedding
Mhm.
I've gone to, you were there emceeing. You are the people person. You love
Yeah.
people. You love that connection with people, and
hmm
people gravitate towards you.
Thanks,
So
Mike.
again, I want to repeat: if you were locked in a cubicle, man, the world will be missing out on
Man,
something,
it's
right?
totally
Can you
true.
imagine? I can't even picture that. So business at home. So you've been going home.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do back home? How are you trying to help people by way of commercial means?
hmm
What are you doing?
So, yeah, good. Thank you for that disclosure. Yes, I'm a person that I don't like being confined
Mhm.
to certain places. I like to be out. I think I have learned over the years that connecting with people is super important. I used to even say like back in college, like just resources. I remember most of the jobs I've had was
Mhm.
because of somebody I knew or somebody that knew
Mhm.
me that referred me to somebody else, or and that's where human beings we're really connected, but we just kind of have these various skin tones or whether it be
Yeah.
attitudes that kind of makes us different.
Yes.
And so every time I go back home, I meet people. I meet very interesting people. I meet, like even if I'm on a flight, like I'm talking to, I get up, I've flown a lot, so I get up, I walk around the flight, and you find somebody that's like doing something. I remember I was flying to like Russia, and I had a shirt on that the George Mason shirt. I got up and somebody, hey, I know George Mason, and this guy came. He was about to go get married in Russia. He was from George Mason, about to go get married. He invited me to the wedding. And
Oh,
yeah, so
nice.
yeah, so like things like that, you meet people, you interact, and specifically with Ghana,
Mhm.
when I worked in education, I saw the opportunity. I saw kind of like, okay, that I work for a university or I work for this company that's making money from various countries and so forth. How can I do the same, right? How can I position myself? Because one, I have ties to back home. My dad still lives in
Yes.
Ghana. I have
Yes.
very close family friends that are all there. I want to make sure I come home. And unfortunately, my like circumstances in terms of family life doesn't allow me to be there 100% of the time,
Yeah. Yes.
right? And
Yes. Yeah.
so I have to figure out a way to be able to be connected and remain. And I think one of the areas was that there are people that have subject matter expertise home that just don't have the resources, right? And also they may not have the foresight because they may just be limited in
Mm.
their scope. For
Mm.
example,
Mm.
my tailor. I
Mm.
went to go one day. I needed an outfit for my cousin's wedding. When my cousin was like, "Oh, go talk to this guy," I went to go meet his name is Mi. He did my outfit for me, and I was like, "Wait, Mi, like, why are you not, like, what's going on? Why are you not getting to meet other people, whatnot?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just new." I'm like, "Wait, you know what? I have friends that wear outfits. Why not just become your guy, right? So you make my outfits, I wear them, and then I find people that can order, back home." So when I came back, all my friends, "Oh, that's a nice outfit. Oh yeah, yeah, my tailor does that." And then
Yes.
even you, we talked about that a little bit, right? Yeah,
You connected me. My tuxedo
exactly,
was made by your tailor.
exactly. And
Mm.
so finding ways to help people get business and create was kind of the thing that I started seeing. with the education business, how we ended up coming, that was that myself and another partner came together and said, hey, we can't be in Ghana full time, but we know somebody that already works in the business. How can we help them kind of grow out their own? And so all of us came together and then said, okay, let's put money together. You'll be the one on the ground. We're more of strategic advisors. We trust your expertise here. And then we have weekly meetings and all of that. So that's a connection that keeps me there, because now it's a business that we've established. It's running, it's operating, and then it gets me to go in when I need to go in. And if I can't make it, somebody else can go in, and so forth. So yeah, so it's really just trying to like find or identify areas or somebody. Like I even say sometimes, like, this is something that you might think of, like, I'm sure when you go back home,
Yes.
you may have somebody that cuts your hair.
Yes.
Right? You may have somebody
Yes.
that's a barber.
Yes.
They may be working in somebody's shop.
Yes.
And through conversation, oh, why don't you start your own barbershop? In America, we do it all the time, right? You go somewhere, you meet somebody that's really good. Oh, start your own YouTube channel.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I don't even know I could do that. And a lot of people just don't know.
Yes.
And so identifying ways like that helps me, like, all the time. When I'm home, I see somebody doing some kind of business or something. I'm like asking questions like, hey, how did you, like, are you doing this by yourself? They're like, oh no, I'm doing it for somebody else. Well, how much would you need to do it on your own? Exactly. Can we look at partnering? I'll finance you, you set it up, and then, you start running, so there's so many different types of things that come up through like kind of like when I travel and so forth. But that's kind of like how I try to stay connected, really trying to find ideas or ways that I know that I won't be able to implement this, because I'm fully based here, but having somebody on the ground run it, either you're coming in as a partner, supporting in some way. So that's kind of like the encompasses of it.
That's interesting. And every time I hear something new, because you've been a supporter of StemToRoots.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I talk to somebody who brings something new, a new idea for us out in the diaspora to back home, I like to highlight it. And what I want to pin in what you just said is the fact that we can be here. Every time we go, we see somebody that is a subject matter expert that is able to do something, whether it's crafty with their hands, whether it's just something they work on, whether knowledge that they know. And you see how they can commercialize it and do even better than, what is around them. First educate them, let them know, how far they can reach.
Correct.
And if finance is an issue, that's an opportunity for you to help them and also help yourself. Partner with them, see how they can be the human resource behind that. And you jump in there by financing and showing them the opportunity.
Correct.
That's a way that I've never heard that. So I've not heard that yet.
Yeah.
Where we can also do that in a way to change the lives of our people back home.
Yes.
Connect with them, bring the idea, have them do the work that otherwise they're already doing.
Correct.
You're just expanding, whatever their access is.
Yeah.
Like you said about your tailor. I remember when I was here, on all sorts of sites, looking for, in 2018, looking for what to wear. And I think it was my wife that, asked you or something. You guys came about talking about it. And that was made for, I still remember, it was under 300. It was 250 something. My tuxedo. Dude, man, the way I felt on that day, the fact that it was handmade by somebody in Ghana who made it, shipped it, sent it over to me, and I wore it that day looking like $1 million. With no expensive designer tag on it, under $300. That was amazing. And so that level of opportunity is something we can involve ourselves with.
Yeah, and it does come with, it does come with some risk, right? I think sometimes that's one of the pieces where it depends on the level of involvement. That's why you have to be careful. So for me per se, what I always say is that if you find someone that you want to support, you got to kind of help them, incentivize them in some way, right? Not just become a bankroller, just giving them all the cash and right, because then they can get waysided. But having them involved at some level where they have some kind of equity, I think that's important, in having them have some kind of ownership, because they know that if they don't get up and go to the office, well, they're not gonna eat, right? Like, so it's a partnership thing that you have to look at. I think that's important to say that, because if not, everybody's just gonna start bankrolling people, and that can become very risky.
Let me pin that again. 2 episodes back, I got Sharif here. You know Sharif.
Yes, yep.
He said something remarkable. That's exactly what you just said. He said a lot of mistakes, and this is about the risk part, right? A lot of mistakes that we do over here, because that's something we want to avoid, because all of us have heard the horror stories, right?
Yes, yeah.
You're here, you're sending back home to have somebody do something for you, build a business, build a house, whatever, and then you end up being screwed, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So he said this, and this is exactly what you're saying. He said, we have to be smart enough and be fair to people back home too. If you have somebody that you're entrusting with the project management of your mansion, right, and you're sending back home money so that you'll have a well-built mansion, and this person who's project managing, and you know everything that's involved, you're I'll say the word using. You're using them as that trusted person to be managing this, and you're not taking care of them. Hence the equity. Correct. You're saying, if you're working on something together, if you're not paying them enough because, oh, it's back home, I can have a good deal, right? You're not giving them enough incentive to say, hey, I'm getting enough from this. I'm getting 10 times what I would have gotten just working my peanut selling.
Yep.
And so I will take care of this person as they're taking care of me, because this is an opportunity I don't want to miss. Then if you don't give them that, they end up taking from or leaving off of, that you send $100, they will leave off of 20 of that 100.
Exactly.
If you're lucky. You're lucky. If you don't go 50-50.
Yep.
So what you just said is profound, man. Like, we have to be fair.
Very much so. I think Professor Lumumba, I'm not sure if you listen to Professor Lumumba.
PLO.
PLO. That's the guy.
Over my page, yes.
So he talks about corruption as like corruption is not, we call it corruption, but it's really stealing, right? Stealing, right?
Yes.
And I think a lot of the times,
thieves,
when you look at Africa, people go corrupt or steal because they know that, oh, I'm not going to get that money ever. And that's because if you look at businesses and organizations, a lot of businesses make, like, you start a business in Africa, you can make a lot of money very quickly. And when people say you make a lot of money, that's because staffing or overhead is very low. People don't pay, like, so in America, Amazon is paying you $120,000, whatever. Somebody in Ghana is probably getting maybe $12,000 a year as their income, right? And that's because their whatever company is, the boss or whatever, is making 10x their investment. People will build a house for $40,000 and sell it for 80, 90, but then only pay like 10% to the workers.
People that built it, yes.
Exactly. And so that causes people to start saying, oh, well, I can just give some money off the top of it. And
I'll find a way to
exactly. Then it makes things more expensive. Then you have inflation and so forth. So I think it's one of those things where, as we go back and we've learned here, like, even though we get cheated here as well, we still have labor laws, all these things. In Africa, there's none of that. So, like, I know, I remember one time I was in Kenya, this agency we worked with, their staff literally all just quit because they were getting paid peanuts.
Wow.
After they started seeing how much money was being made from students that we were sending them, I mean, I'm talking, I'll spit numbers just here, but like, one student is average, like, that company was making about $3,000 per student, and they weren't even paying the employees $100 a month, right? So if you're making that amount of money, right?
A student,
exactly. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of really be open and learn from what we see here. Like, I try to, like, really make sure that you try to be fair, not just be like, oh, because it's Ghana, I'm just gonna pay them peanuts. No, or because it's somewhere else. No, you've got to be kind of really fair and know that, okay, this person wants to also have a good life. They want to have, a family. They may have this, they may have that. They've got to be compensated adequately, right? Not saying go and blow your bank, but just be fair in that aspect, because I think that's where I see that people are generally more inclined to stay with a company longer if they know that they're being compensated,
100%. And I just like how you brought that up, and hopefully, somebody can learn from this, whether they're starting a project, thinking about a project. Part of your planning towards our project is make sure, you budget, being able to make sure the people you're working with are happy, fully compensated, and you're
Correct.
giving them a fair deal for them to actually bring back this loyalty that you need in order to finish your project.
Correct.
And
100%.
that takes me somewhere where, as we were talking, and I was not even thinking about this. Again, you're plugged, you're connected, you're going home often. Lately, here in the US, the Caribbean, even the UK, there's this whole thing about Ghana, and
Yeah.
people wanting to go home. We have all
Yeah.
these celebs just, an influx of celebrities, leaving the US, especially the African American, just coming home to see Ghana.
Yep.
And we have, I see all over YouTube, those that have attempted to just leave the US, leave the West for Ghana.
Yeah.
Where I'm going with this question is, because you're a man of the people, you know what's going on. Like, first, socially, how do they feel about people gravitating towards Ghana and running back there? That's the social aspect of it. And on the economic side, what are people bringing in versus how are people feeling about, all of this that's going on?
Yeah. I think socially it's welcoming. I think Ghana from just my observation in Africa, right? I always say Ghana is one of the places where you find people are very welcoming. If you want like a soft landing in Africa, I haven't been to like Gambia and those other places, but
you have to visit.
Yeah, it's on my list, man. It's on my list.
We'll talk about it.
COVID messed all that up.
We have to, yes.
But I find Ghana to be very welcoming to just anybody, right? Like, I've traveled in Ghana with white people. I've traveled with African Americans. I was there with Amazon. We did an activation. About 40 of us were in Ghana, and they loved it. My coworkers loved it. They enjoyed themselves. You find that our food is pretty okay, welcoming, and all of that. I think socially it's very welcoming because Ghanaians are kind of that spirit. And I think also it places Africa on a kind of a like a welcoming stage, right? So people will typically go to Ghana, then they'll be curious about Nigeria, then they'll be curious about Nairobi, then they'll be curious about South Africa. And that's great that we have that. I think Ghana, the way Ghana was able to do that was through the Come Back to Ghana movement. I forget the name of it, but I think the Return or something. It was called the Return. And so I think that's great. I think locally, the local people see it as business opportunities. I can't tell you, man, how many. So I remember, like you mentioned, when I started going to Ghana, I used to buy my ticket for, I think, like $1,200 to get from like New York to Ghana. Now you can't even, in December, you can't even get a ticket for less than $2,500. So Delta starts, Delta and all the airlines start taking advantage of people going there, right? It's becoming a hotspot. Now, locally, also people start saying, oh, well, African Americans are coming in. Well, they may want nice clubs. They may want nice bars, nice food. So like now, in within the span of like 3 years that I've been to Ghana, there's like, I used to know of like the top 5 restaurants. Now there's like top 20, right? So it's opportunity for friends that have lived here. We're like, oh, you know what? Let me go back and set up a shop. And then go back home. There's a really nice bar, Su Ghana, where a lot of people frequent. It's called the Republic Ghana. It was started by some guys from, I believe, London. They're from. Went back home and they set that up. Now it's like you go there, you're seeing white people there, you're seeing black people there, you're seeing all sorts of people there.
It's the place you gotta go. Okay.
So I think it creates a lot of opportunity for us here to start saying, oh well, if African Americans are going there, what are things that they like here that I can bring back there? People are doing that with resorts now. I know there's a guy that's building a big, massive resort with like jet skis and all that. That's something that Ghana hadn't had in a long time. It was like one place that had it. Now we have a couple resorts that people can go to. I think the piece where I see some like friction really is the local, right? So those that are impoverished, now they can't afford some of these things. Right, because it drives up inflation. When people are like somebody, they call it I think in Kenya they call it the Muzungu price, and Ghana we have the Broni price. You come in and it's like something that's worth 100 Ghana cedis. Now they're selling you for 300 Ghana cedis. Then the local person is gonna come. Oh no, well this person bought it for 300. Well, I'm gonna start selling at 200, and so that drives it up. So now you have a local that can't even go eat at a very nice restaurant because they can't afford the
Anymore.
price there.
Yes, yes.
So that's where I see the friction, where like the people locally welcome it, they think it's great, but at the end of the day, it does drive up inflation for them, just like any touristy. But I think it's one of those
Yes,
things.
it is.
Things
It
is
is.
like
Yes.
it's good for the country. I think it's good
Yes.
for in general, and I think um, down the line, I think the success of Africa has to be accepting to the diasporans or the people that are living here. So
Mm,
an African
mm,
American that goes to Ghana will
mm.
go down, never been to Africa, has heard all of these negative things about Africa, gets there and is like, oh, this isn't what they told me. Now I want to build my house here.
Yes.
Oh, they build a house. Oh, well, you know what? They don't even have a local Walmart here. Well, let me start setting up Walmart. Like, and then now that starts helping the economy. But people locally don't see that vision,
There,
and that
yes.
and that's where
Yes.
it's like,
Yes. Yes.
that's a whole nother conversation. But
That's a whole nother
yeah,
conversation. Yeah, and I see where you're going with that. I see.
mhm,
I'm glad you touched on all of that. Right? There's this huge advantage. Where new ideas are coming, development is coming. They're bringing the outside in.
yeah,
For locals to gain from. Right?
mhm,
Like you
mhm,
said, expanding from top 5 restaurants to now you can only name you start naming top 20
yep,
because you can't point them up on in five like local business and stuff. But you also touched on how driving the price, and like when I
mhm,
asked that, I was actually thinking, and this is all over, this is everywhere.
yeah,
I was thinking about here, like the family moved from Mass to Texas,
yep,
where when I moved here and I started listening to people locally and trying to hear how they feel,
yeah,
they hate the fact that between here and my friends that moved to Austin and
mhm,
Dallas, locals, people that have always grew up around there, knew
yep,
what their prices were, housing and all that stuff.
correct. And now
They
it's
hate
it's
people
gone all the way up.
moving from Cali
Yep,
and from the East Coast, the New Yorks and the Bostons and stuff,
yep,
coming here, looking at a 300K house.
mhm,
Saying, oh, a good starter home, that's a good price,
yeah,
right?
yep,
300K, oh, that's a good price because you can't afford you
yeah,
can't, where you're from. And here, the locals, their starter home, they're like their 120, 200K
correct.
home, and now they can't afford that
Afford any of
anymore.
that,
So,
yeah,
and that was why I was bringing that up, and then
yeah.
you highlighted that.
Can I add an element
Yes,
to that?
yes,
I think
yes,
with even in America here, right? So for
yes,
example, I live in Virginia. Virginia is one of those states where you can find it sometimes will vote Republican, sometimes votes Democrat, right?
yes,
In
yeah, yeah.
Ghana, you
The
start
swing
seeing
state, yeah.
that political aspect of it as well, right? You start
Mm.
seeing, oh, well, if you're a diasporan and you move back and you start working and you want to go into government, like, are you then going to start implementing American kind of like,
Ah,
right? So what so there's also a friction of like, oh, well, you think you know more because, oh yeah, you lived in the US and now you think you're coming back here, and you can make it better. No, right? It's like we can take care of ourselves. And I think that's when I was talking about, like, there's got to be kind of a marriage between the diaspora. There's got to be some kind of like the expertise of living abroad coming down has got to be almost like nurtured in a way to make it not seem so combative, because it
mm-hmm,
can be that, oh, well, I'm not going to listen to you because you think you know it all, right?
mm-hmm,
And just
mm-hmm.
like in Texas now, you're going to find a lot of us moving, a lot of like our faces moving to Texas. Not everybody's going to start voting Republican anymore, right?
Yeah, it's
The laws
true.
will start changing.
It's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
Mm.
those things start to come into play. And I think that's where, like, on a larger scale, there's got to be a lot of really kind of people just communicating and understanding that, the vision is a better Ghana or a better Gambia or whatever. But how do we, make sure that we're using all our resources? Because it's going to happen. I mean, in Ghana, you have Rita Marley moved to Ghana in the 70s, I
Yes.
believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's an area in Ghana, in central Ghana, where you have African Americans that have a whole village. They have a whole like diaspora community there.
Wow.
On the Cape Coast, you have, yeah. So it's happening. Like, people are migrating, buying acres of land, building, having their families relocate there. And so those things now, as those kids start going to school, start growing up, they're gonna start wanting to get into government. They're gonna start wanting to get into local things, and they have to, get an understanding of how all of that work.
I
Um,
see. Ah,
yeah.
wow. You mentioned
Yeah.
Rita Mali. I had a guest here
Hmm.
from Sierra Leone who mentioned Rita Mali moving to Ghana.
Yep.
I didn't even know that. As
Yeah.
as part of the tell me something I don't know, she threw that in there while she was
Yep.
talking about Bob Marley in Jamaica. As we you connected, you know Africans here, right?
Hmm.
So if you're given a general advice, obviously every case will be different. Like
Yeah.
people have their different lives. But if you were to give a general advice of somebody here in the states
Hmm.
trying to figure out other options, and they're from Africa,
Yeah.
that's where their background is, but they've been gone for so long they don't even know where to start. But
Hmm.
they're thinking about Africa as a place that can be a plan B,
Yeah.
or you can even turn to a plan A if things are
Correct.
successful. Like what would be a place to start, in your opinion? How
Yeah.
do they begin thinking about that?
So I would say the first thing is look at your life and try to find how you can connect that to Africa, right? Like if you're
Mm.
from South Africa, like in my case, it was work for me, right? I felt like, you know what,
You use work. Mhm.
I've got to find a way to go to Ghana. I've got to find a way. It's expensive to do so. How can I get a job that is gonna allow me to be able to do that? So in
Mhm.
every job that I work, or most jobs I work, I should say that I've either gone back to Ghana some way somehow with them
Yeah.
by just being curious and networking like crazy, like finding out like, hey, like at Amazon, I was like, talking to a buddy of mine, and they were like, oh, we're planning a trip to Ghana. I'm like, wait, what? How can I get on that trip? Like, because there's nothing better than going with Amazon, like you're a big company, going to Ghana with them and understanding like what they're doing there, and those things start sparking things in your head. And so I would say like finding similarities, finding ways, or
Mm.
finding even like a job or something that is gonna to get you to like at least go there, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, whatever. I think my experience working in Ghana, not as in actually professionally working,
Mhm.
gave me a way better insight into the country than actually just going to visit. When I would go visit,
Mm.
so when I went for the 2 weeks visit the first time, it was like I did touristy stuff. I didn't do anything that like gave me like any ideas.
Yeah.
But when I was actively like going to business meetings, talking to people, and I was like, oh wait, these are all I could find all these issues people would have. I could find all these things I could create some kind of a stopgap to.
I see.
Right. So like our business, the business I have, the Excel Plus Education. One thing that we do very well is the visa processing. I help when I was at the UMass Lowell and George Mason. I was a visa expert for Africa. So how can I bring that expertise and help my own company, right? So we do very well with like if you come to us, we know kind of like your situation and help you navigate the visa process
Mhm.
effectively.
Mhm.
That was one thing that we saw. I saw like people just local people didn't know, and so I had
Yes.
the expertise to do that. So if you have an expertise, right now cloud IT is blowing up. I know
Yes.
Sharif last time talked about the call center. That's
Yes.
something that a lot
Yes.
of people I've met so many people that have talked to it, trying to navigate it. Somebody's gonna crack it because there's no reason why we speak Africa in so many we speak English, sorry,
Yeah.
in
Yes.
so many
Yes.
countries in Africa, but a lot of companies go to India to
Yeah.
do call centers. Why
And
can't we
not
have
have call
them?
center. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Solar. I know people that are
Yes.
working in solar. So trying to like find. I have a friend that works in solar, and then he decided, oh well, I work in solar. Africa obviously has all the sunlight.
Abundance of sun. Yeah.
Yeah, my company. He knows where his
Ah.
company gets the solar panels from. Why not just start your own in Ghana or wherever, right? So finding or identifying a problem or a niche or something that you see like, okay, I don't know. Every country is different. Like
Yes.
Kenya,
Yes.
I've even tried to look into like starting a coffee business one time, which it's not even
Nah.
I haven't
Nah.
exited out yet. It's gonna
Nah. Nah.
it's gonna come later. But a Kenyan friend of mine was like, I went to Ethiopia and Kenya. I was like, oh wait, coffee. Like why am I like America consumes so much coffee?
Yes.
Why am I not finding a way to export it here? But it's gonna take time. I think that's
Yeah.
one of the advices I can give. Nothing happens overnight. Like literally, man,
Yes.
this
Yes.
business, what 11 years into working education is kind of like when it
Before
even,
you.
yeah, but you got to start identify small, start just kind of like finding little things and start small, keep building, making the connection, staying connected. I've been blessed with people that have come in my path. Like African Youth Excellence was something that It was a nonprofit that we had in Worcester. We started in Worcester, and a good friend of mine, who is now in Ghana working with the president's office. We started together, and those kind of things are great connections that you start. You find out you look for people in your network that are doing stuff back home. How do you connect them together? How can you start something? So it's all like literally just starting small and just keeping at it. I think that's the best way to put it. And finding ways, like if you're working in cloud technology, it's like I'm telling you guys, man. Data centers. Giving somebody the idea here. If you can make this work in wherever, like give me 10% of it. But
Yeah.
data
Yeah.
centers.
Yes.
Set up a data center and somewhere. Find a company that will host all of this. You know what I mean? Like there's so many ideas. It's just
Yes.
you looking
Yes.
and finding the right opportunity and just keep working at it. It'll definitely grow. And I think one last thing I'll say is
Yes.
don't look at trying to go in to make a lot of money with people there,
Mm.
right? Don't go and take advantage and then become the colonizer, right? You want to go in and have the mindset that you want to build jobs. Africa right now I believe in like 10, 20 years is going to have the highest number of teenage youth population.
The youngest workforce. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how do you create jobs where you can get somebody there to work and be able to give them a job and opportunity in itself, and then you help them navigate that. I think that's the advice I can give.
You've dropped nuggets left and right, including dropping a business idea and actually saying give me 10% if you do it, then you kept going.
That's something that is a visionary.
Listen, bro, thank you very much. Like I said, there's a lot more that I didn't touch on that is relevant to StemToRoots that I would love your opinion on.
Yes.
Let's call this like part A.
You and
I, we have to sit down again.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. Let's talk about this before you go. The Cell Point education. Is it only in Ghana right now?
So Excel Plus, what we have, yes, our office is based in Ghana. We have two offices, one in the capital and one in my home, not home city. But we are also virtual. So we have Excel Plus online. So we do have clients from Kenya, Nigeria. We haven't reached out to Gambia and Senegal yet. You and I need to talk about that.
We need to talk.
Yeah. So what we do is we partner with about 200 universities in the UK, Canada, US, Australia, I'm forgetting Ireland, and then we have also like India and Malaysia. But we have universities that we partner with, and essentially we don't charge students anything. So if you want to study abroad, you come to us. We will help you navigate all of the process. We don't charge anything unless we're not because we essentially get paid by the university. We have partnerships with the universities. So we don't charge any students anything on the front end. But we do try to make sure that we obviously vet that you're a genuine student and so forth through the process.
So that's the part you guys do. You vet, you make sure that this is a serious student. This is not your Ethiopian that actually left and disappeared. So we'll put this out there, especially you guys are virtual. We'll put this out there. Hopefully somebody will benefit. Because that's actually a struggle when it comes to Africans once they graduate high school trying to see further their education in these places, and the visa process is hectic. The ways to navigate how to go about it is hectic. If you guys take that off of their hands, go through all that process after vetting that they're serious and they're not thinking about the financial aspect. We have to pay for this agency for that. It has to be this will come from the university. That is something that will help our people a lot, the serious students.
Correct. And one thing we also want to do is, let's say we also kind of want to do like a franchise model. So because a lot of the times you can't just set up a study abroad agency. You have to have partnerships, and that takes a lengthy time. So we've been able to have partnerships that we've signed with like UMass, George Mason, really, really top schools in the US. And so if you're somewhere like even you, Mike, if you're in Gambia, you want to set it up, we can always work together, have you as the local representative there. And then, you can be actively working and recruiting for students.
You see, I'm glad you dropped that there. So if you're somewhere in Africa where you don't have that, but you want to find a way, like you said, that franchise system, like you want to find a way to connect, that's why we'll drop all the info to connect with you and figure out how to start it wherever you are in Africa. My boy Nana is here. Thank you, brother.
Hey,
Thank you so
God
much.
bless you for what you're doing. I really love this. I really love this platform. And Mike, man, I know you, man. And so, man, you're doing a really good job with this.
Thank you.
I think this is a
Thank you.
great thing. You're doing StemToRoots and really
Thank you.
continue to highlight what we're doing. And try to
Oh, yes.
connect the diaspora. And when you're ready to move back, Charlie, hurry up. Let me go. I'm ready to go to Gambia, man.
We'll talk about Gambia for sure.
Sounds good.
We'll talk
Sounds
about.
good.
Thank you. Thank you, bro. Thank you.